today's tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to make one of those scented candles that you tend to get in different places. You know, the glass ones where they've got the bits of bamboo sticking out the top. It's generally an air freshener to your room, but and shows you how you can actually make it to actually create your own products that you might want to be designing for your business. So let's just try that for now. So I'm just going to add something simple, and what we're going to do is add in a simple cylinder because that's the closest thing to the thing we're going to make. So I'm just going to scale this up just so I got the that kind of shape. So I'm just going to scale it in the Z. I've pressed S to scale and Z, and what we're going to do is actually just move it to the top of our arrows there, and I'm just going to move my screen down just by holding the shift down. So we've got the basic shape. So what we're going to do now is just add in a HDRI, and the reason why we're adding an HDRI, it will give us a realistic look on our system, and we'll be doing this predominantly in Eevee, and right at the very end we'll be actually switching into cycles because it just creates a better glass. So let's just do that then. We're going to add in an environmental texture, so I'm just going to open an HDRI from Polyhaven, and it's going to be the brown one again that we used last week, so in our scene. And if we actually go into render mode, as you can see, there we have it. That's the brown studio, and into here. So for this part we're going to be generally modeling our shape, and so I'm just going to be quickly modeling our shape. So what I'm going there is I've got point select, line select and face select. So go on the line select, Control and R, and I'm just going to actually subdivide this until it's like in little squares. It just aims for better topology on our finished model. So I'm just going to add a quick bevel to the top of this because I wish to, and I think it just looks better. So we're still on line select there, Control and B, but because it's actually selected all the way around a face, that's why the top face is actually highlighted. So just press the Control key down and press B to bevel. As you can see, if it's not open, there's this little thing down here, and we can open that up, and that's our bevel. I prefer doing it this way because it gives you a lot more control on the bevel, and of course you can add custom bevels to this if you so wish. So I'm just going to actually just be adding that in there. As you can see, that looks a bit distorted on the top. That's because we haven't actually fixed our geometry. So let's just undo that. So I just Control and Z to undo that. Tab to take us out of edit mode, and what I'm going to do is press Control and A, and it fetches up this menu, and what I'm going to do is actually all transforms, and that just makes our scale work better in Blender. So we've got our face here, and let's just re-add that bevel in like I said I'm going to do. So we're on line select, and I'm just going to select that top face. Control and B to bevel and fetch this up, and I want a little bit of a rounded surface, so I'm just going to add 3 to that, just like that. So now what we can do is actually just do a bit of our modelling. So I'm just going to E and then scale this down, and then I'm going to extrude it by right clicking and just press extrude along the normals, and I'm just going to take it down slightly because I wish to, and E and S just to scale it down, E and S, and I'm just making myself the little bit where the actual straws are going to go through. So extrude this along the normals just to take it up a bit, E and S just to scale it down, and extrude across the normals. I'm going to take this now into the actual image. I'm going to have a very short one there, which I might add a bevel to, I haven't decided yet. And then extrude again the normals again just to take it down. And then X, I'm going to delete, but only faces because I want to keep the edges. So only faces. So we've basically got our shape there. And I'm going to do something similar to the bottom. I'm going to add a bevel to this because I wish to, Control and B, just because I think it looks quite good. And I'm going to leave it at 3, same as we left it last time, but you can increase this to as many as you want. But obviously every time you add a different ring to that, that actually adds more geometry to your model, which you might not want later on. Now on the bottom, I'm going to do the same again. E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude, S to scale. And this time we're going to get rid of it. X, only faces. But what I'm going to do is, so we keep good topology, I've got on line select and I'm going to select this edge. And we're going to use a thing called grid fill. This is found under the F3 key. So press F3 and you can find out, it's usually top of your list, but if you type in here grid, GR, it normally goes up to the top, and grid fill. The reason you're doing that, it makes absolutely fantastic geometry. So we've made it our simple bottle, but what I want to do is add a light silver base to it, and I want to add at the top I would like to add a silver cap. But also, to make the glass work better, we need to add something new. So we're going to the spanner or the wrench, whichever you prefer. And I'm just going to take this into X-ray mode so you can actually see it. And we're going to add the spanner or wrench. Make sure that you're out of edit mode. This is edit mode. You know it because it actually makes all these other tools come out of edit mode. And what we're going to do is add in hit the spanner or wrench, add a modifier, go to generate, and we're going to add a solidifier. Now you can increase the thickness of this, and this will actually make the glass of your shape. So I'm just going to do it to about there because that's the kind of thing that I want for my glass bottle. And I'm just going to simply apply this. So apply. So now we've got the actual bottle shape for our straws to go in the top, and we obviously add the liquid, but first of all I'd like to add a cap to it, and we're going to use some simple textures to do this. Right, back out of X-ray mode, and what we're going to do is actually right click and shade smooth this just so it renders a little bit better. As you can see, there's a few distortions here, so if you get distortions like this, to tighten them up, what you can do is you can either add more rings so you've got more geometry, press Z to Control Z to undo, or you can tighten up some of the curves, Control and R, and I'm just going to put one there, and I'm going to put one there just to put it to the edge to actually make tighter geometry. Like I say, it's entirely up to you if you want to put a bevel on these edges, but for this tutorial I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it like that. So back into edit mode, as you can see, it's just a white into render mode. It's just this kind of white shape. So I'm just hitting this, which of course is viewport shading, and this will give you a little bit of idea what an object is going to look like when you add a texture to it. So let's make our textures. So first of all, we're going to actually make a silver cap on here. So what I'm going to do is go on a ring select, so Alt and hit the line on there, and we're selecting that ring at the top. Now I can grow this by pressing Control and plus. Right, so selecting that ring again, plus plus plus. But the beauty about Blender is you can actually just change things as you wish. Right, so I'm doing that, and in fact the first one I think we'll add the glass one. Let's just change that to a glass, just to make this a little bit clearer. So I'll make this into a glass, and I'm just going to add in a simple glass. So select the principal BSD F and change it to a glass texture. As you can see, I've changed that to a glass texture, and if we actually look in edit mode, you can actually just see it. But as you can see, it's quite a rough texture, so you can't see through it like that. You can't see through it, so let's just actually make it a little bit more see-through and take it down to something really small. Like I say, I mean it's a doable glass, but it's not very good in Eevee. I don't think it is anyway. So but I'm just going to actually enable subspace refractions because that actually makes it a little bit better on there. And in the render mode up here, I'll do the same thing. What we've got is screen reflections. So I've enabled those, but as you can see, it's just reflecting the glass, but not very good. So right, that's our glass created. So let's just add in another simple colour to this. So we've one there and we've renamed it glass. Now let's just add a different colour into this. So we're going to add a different colour into this. And this one we're going to call chrome, like I said before. So new, and I'm just going to make this chrome. CHROME, make it into the chrome. And what we can do now is actually alter this. So chrome obviously is metallic and it's got some roughness to it, but we'll just leave it there. So we've got there, I know that looks like a chrome anyway, but if we go back into edit mode we can actually see that we've got this enabled, and I'm just going to add the chrome effect to this, and you do this by putting a sign. As you can see, the chrome there on the top, the roughness is a bit too rough, so I'm just going to actually take this down, but that might be the effect you want, or you might want to actually put a red cap on it or something like that. But what we're going to do is actually stick to a slightly bluey white for our chrome, and I'm going to take the roughness really down just to make it really shiny. So there we are, we've got our chrome, and what I'm going to do now is actually select this top here because I want this to be slightly bigger. So go on to actually face select. I'm just going to grow this selection, just grow it again until it covers the chrome area, and I'm just going to extrude along the normals just to actually make it grow slightly, just so it then looks like a cap on our item. As you can see, we've got a bit of bleeding of the glass there, so we can actually sharpen things up quite simply by Ctrl and R, adding a loop and then just sharpening it. So we've now got our glass with its lid on, and same for the base. So let's just do the base, and we'll select a line on the underside, and then just grow the selection again with Ctrl and plus. So I'm just selecting this ring here, Ctrl plus until it's at the desired place, and I'm just going to add the I think I'll have the base slightly less prominent, and we just do this and we assign that again. And I'm just going to grow the selection exactly the same as I did before. So extrude along the normals. Oops, because I'm not on face select, that option is not there. So extrude along the normals like that, just to make it bigger. And as you can see, we've got the same distortion again there. And what you can do is Ctrl and R just to add this loop cut, just to sharpen our edges just there. So we've got an actual chrome base, and as you can see it looks pretty rubbish and you can't really see through it, but if we actually quickly change into cycles, you'll get what the actual thing will look like. So as you can see, we've now got a hole in the top, and like I say, the glass is done a lot better. So we've got that, so we've done that. And what we can do now is we're going to add in a bit of distortion just to make this look a bit real. As you can see, we're now into cycles, but same as last time, let's just make this glass look a bit more real. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a new feature, and this is called the hide feature, which is very handy. As you can see, we've got a bit of distortion there, so I'm just going to tie this up by adding a loop cut there and moving it to the bottom. There we go. And as you see distortions happen, you can actually add them, and as you can see, everything's actually in squares, so it's very good topology. So I'm just going to hide the outside of this. So I'm just going to select this face here. In fact, I'm going to grow it from somewhere in the center, because what I want to do is add the distortion to the inside of my glass. So I'm just going to grow this like that, just so it actually covers everything on the outside. Just a bit more. And I'm just going to hide the outside. Because I'm in edit mode, we can hide the outside. So I've now hidden the outside. I'm just going to jump back into Eevee because it's just a bit easier to see it in Eevee. And as you can see, we've now got the inside of our object because we've hidden the outside of it. And I'm just going to hide this top as well. So just keep growing this selection. Let's see, minus. Right. Oops. Let's do this again because Control plus. And as you can see, I'm just going to hide that. And this is the inside of our bottle. And same with the base here. I'm just going to hide this because I just ready. Be nice. That's my cat coming in, and of course my little dog is actually going crazy with the cat. They do get on quite well, but occasionally they just don't. So and that it's one of those days. So go on, select any point on this inside ring, and what I'm going to do is just select a random amount. So select random, and this is the what we covered in a previous tutorial, just to actually select random faces, and I'm just going to add a bit of distortion by scaling these in, and it just makes the glass look that little bit more real. And if we go back into cycles, you can see the effect that we've just actually achieved. So as you can see, you've got a little bit of distortion in things, and it just makes the actual glass object or your object look a little bit more real. You can add a rough texture to this if you want, if you're chrome, but I thought brilliant chrome would look that little bit bright better. I think it might be a little bit bright though, so I'm just going to actually make the chrome a little bit darker by dragging this slider down like that. So I'm just making slight adjustments to the colour just to get that more realistic look that I want to have. So now we've got that, we've added a distortion, so let's just add in a liquid into this. So I'm just going to hide the outside edges again. Alt H will make everything appear. This time I'm going to hide the outside edges and the outside edges for a simple reason, because I wish to just make it that little bit better. Right, so we've got that. And all I want to do is actually just do that ring at the top, and I'm going to simply make my straws that go in this liquid, and I'm also going to make a liquid on the inside. So I'm just going to select the outside face and grow the selection just so it actually goes around everything on the outside like that. Hide it again, and we'll just go into this mode because it actually just shows it that little bit better. So we've got our inside of our object, and I'm just going to hide the outside. So I'll grind the selection, hide. I'll press the H key, sorry. Oops. Control Z, H to hide. And this here is going to be I'm going to duplicate this here, and I'm going to make another object. So what you could do is go into mesh, and you can put duplicate. You can also press Shift D. But as you can see, I've duplicated that object. Control Z just to undo. I'll just show you again. So mesh, duplicate, and then hit the arrow, the left mouse button again, and we can actually just scale this down. And as you can see, because we made it slightly smaller, we're now making our liquid. So I'm just going to press P to separate this selection, and that can be called our liquid. So I'm just going to quickly go up here. We've got two cylinders. One's that outside cylinder, and if I select the other one, as you can see, we've got our liquid cylinder. So I'm just going to hide that. Let's just see that. I'm just going to hide the mother object, hide, and we can make our liquid now. So I'm just going to quickly model this, E to extrude, and F3 to add a grid fill. So this is going to be our liquid, and as you know, there's some surface tension on most liquids when they're in a bottle, so we can just add a little bevel to this just to actually add it. Go, I'm just adding a little bevel, I'll make it a tiny little bevel because that's going to be our liquid. So I've made our liquid, and most liquids are a little bit round, so I'm just going to select that center base there, and I'm just going to go on to a thing called proportional editing, and I'll just make it a little bit round. G and Z, just to pull that up slightly, just to make that slight bevel or the little dome shape you get on things. So we got our glass there, and what I'm going to do is hit this, which makes a new material. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to make a new material for our liquid. So new material, so I've duplicated that glass. Don't worry, the old one's still there. It's like in this selection. It just creates this new glass. So let's just actually go into this. So we've got our new glass, and I'm just going to change the colour of this. We'll make it slightly reddy pink because that's the colour I want for my new glass. All takes to make everything disappear, but we might as well start renaming it. So this is the liquid, LIQ, call that the liquid, and I'm just going to rename the other one bottle. As you can see, because we fully hid that, then it vanished completely, so you can actually open the eye again and make that reappear. So as you can see, we've now got a liquid in our bottle when we're in our cycles mode. Oops, there's a little bit of distortion there. Might have to do some work to make this look a little bit more real. But there we have it. We've got a simple bottle with some nice distortion to actually make our liquid. And we're just going to add in a few straws. So mesh. Our straws are normally cylindrical. So I'm just going to scale these down and scale it in the Z. Scale it down. Scale it in the Z. Depending how long or short you want your straws, it's entirely up to you, but I'm just going to actually move them up there. I'm going to rotate it slightly, and G and Z just to move it into my bottle, just like you get the actual scented candles. And you can actually just duplicate, Shift and D to duplicate this, but I'm just going to add a quick colour to it, and just make it like a new material, and I'll call this bamboo. And make it that yellowy bamboo-y colour. Because I just don't want to actually spend ages and ages modelling. Control it now just to rotate. In the Z. And Shift and D just to duplicate it and rotate it again. Rotate. And as you can see, I'm just making myself Shift and D. Rotate. In the Z. Just to make my bamboo. I've got my 3 sticks of bamboo in there. And as you can see, we've got something that looks quite good, although I'm not actually overstruck on the liquid, so I'm just going to select the liquid in the center, and I'm going to add in a subdivision modifier, add in generate and subdivision surface. There's something wrong with the actual the item, so I'm just going to actually take the roughness down to 0, so it's got no roughness whatsoever. And just play around with the glass slightly in my scene. As you can see, we can't seem to see through that, and I'm just wondering what the actual problem with this is. Just give me a couple of seconds just to actually think about this one and have it a bit of a blank. Let's have a look. Just pause this for a minute. Let's just have a think about this. Aha, I've realised what I've done wrong, and this is a really simple fix, and it's because this has got no skin and it's got no depth, so it's just a simple thing to fix. So what we're going to do is actually go into edit mode, A to select all, and we're just going to add in a simple modifier, and the modifier, let's have a look, I'll just take that off because we don't need it, that wasn't the problem. What we're going to do is add in a solidify modifier again on a generate, so solidify, and as you can see now that becomes a clear liquid again, and I'm just going to actually increase the wall thickness like that. Then maybe shrink it down slightly. And then unhide. So Alt and H. Baby mistakes. Easy to do. And as you can see, now we've got our liquid inside our glass. And we can make it a little bit bigger if we want. Just by scaling it up. As long as we've got no distortion. And as you can see, we've now added a liquid into our drink. Our air freshener even. It's not a drink. Scale it down slightly. Make it look that little bit more real. And as you can see, it looks like we've got an oily liquid there that's got a bit of a bumpiness about it. But you get the idea. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. But say you wanted just one more thing. If you wanted to actually add a label to this bottle, you could do this quite simply, but just by adding another. So is add another texture into this. But first of all, I'm just going to join these things together like that. So I'm selecting the inner liquid and the outer glass, and I'm just going to join these together just to make them into one object, which actually puts all our colours together on one side. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a label to this, and it's going to be a partially see-through label, but this is how easy it is to actually add a label to things. So let's go on this, press the tab key to go into edit mode, and I'm just going to come out of edit mode, make sure that Alt and H is pressed so nothing's actually invisible anymore, and I'm just going to add myself a simple label to this. We seem to be having a bit of a problem with all the actual things that are hidden, so Alt and H makes everything reappear. So we've got our faces there. I'm going to actually switch off the actual X-ray mode so we can actually just see the outside faces. So I'm pressing the 1 key just to look from the front, and as you can see, I can actually just select certain faces. So I'm just going to select these faces here, and I'm going to make these into a label. So I've selected those faces. In fact, let's make it squarish like that. So I've selected them faces, and what I'm going to do now is we're just going to put it on line select like that. And in fact, now I'll do it a different way. What we're going to do is actually just select the outside edges of this square like that to add our little label in. And you can do this quite simply by selecting these, and then what I can do is right click, and there's a thing called mark seams, and as you can see, it puts this little red line on there, but that really helps us for when we're actually attaching a label, because I don't want to actually attach it to anything apart from this area just here. So I'm just going to select these faces on the inside of this by going on face select like that. Whoops. So I've selected those, and I'm just going to quickly add in a label. So let's get an image texture. So we've got an image texture like that. I only want to attach them to this one label, so let's just add in a new. So I just want to add them into a new label. So what I'm going to do is create one more object and put new and make this a label. I'll just rename it label. So we're going to make this into a label, and the way we're going to do this is with a thing called an image texture. So select image texture. I'm just going to open a simple image texture. It depending where you've stored things, and it's just a logo. And if we actually look at this to actually see the actual pictorial version of it, I can actually just put a subscribe logo. So I've got a subscribe logo, but of course you cannot see it, and that's because we haven't added it yet. So I've got just that selected. I'm going to press the U key, and what I'm going to do is go to U, and project from view. So I've just projected that from view, and now if we actually go into UV editing like this, what we can actually do is select our logo from up here. So we've got our logo, there's our label because we just created it, And I'm just going to scale this so it's nice and big, just bigger than that. Scale it in the Z, scale it in the Y, just that, and scale it in the X just to make it a little bit wider, and just centralize it slightly. And as you can see, if we actually go into render mode on here, like that, you can see that the actual label hasn't been attached. The reason it hasn't been attached to it is because if we go into our materials down here, it hasn't been attached because we haven't assigned it to these squares. As you can see, these are those squares on there, and all we've got to do is actually make sure you've got your label selected and then quickly assign it. Tab key, and now we've actually attached a label to the outside of our jar. And as you can see a little bit of distortion around the label because it's going from one actual substance to another substance. And as you can see, it might be the effect you're actually looking for, but might not like it. So what I tend to do is actually go into edit mode on the object and just put a line on the outside edges of this just to actually sharpen the transition between the label. I want a bit of distortion on the side, so I'm just going to leave that on the sides like that, but it's entirely up to you. If you want to get rid of that distortion as well, you can do by adding loop cuts. One on that side, Control and R, and one on that side. And as you can see, that makes for a much cleaner image. So we've made ourselves quite a nice little ornament, and you've put your very own label on there. Right, the label is also fully customizable as well, because you can actually make it shiny, make the label nice and shiny, take its roughness down if you wish, and that'll make it really shiny. So as you can see, the white parts then become like a metal chrome. And the other thing you can do to them is take the roughness up, then it becomes more like a paper label on there. And of course you can actually adjust the alpha mode of the label as well, so it becomes faded out or slightly see-through if that's what you want as well. And that might be the effect you're wanting, but playing around with these little bits can actually change the real look of your label and what it actually looks like. So as you can see, that we've made a object with a metal subscribe label on it. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it interesting. It's how you can actually make some concept art for your object of choice. Right, that chrome I don't think looks very good, so I'm just going to quickly change its colour. Now going on to the chrome material, and I think I'm going to make it a little bit bluer coloured and maybe a little bit darker as well. So I'll just go on to there, and I'm just going to pull this slider down just to make it that little bit darker. So everything is customizable. You can change the glass, you can change the chrome, you can change every part of this if you wish. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know this is a bit of a lengthy tutorial, but as the actual sign says in the middle of my image here, please subscribe to my channel, and if you found this interesting, please watch again. Bye for now.